Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something that's honestly pretty terrifying. We're analyzing 3 deeply unsettling first-hand accounts to really understand the psychology of fear, isolation, and, maybe most importantly, situational awareness. What we're looking at here isn't just a collection of scary ghost stories. No, it's a fascinating breakdown of how human beings process actual, physical threats when they are completely cut off from the rest of the world. As we go through these, I want you to pay close attention to the tiny details. Because as you'll see, in every single one of these scenarios, noticing the small anomalies is literally what made the difference between becoming a victim and surviving to tell the tale.
So what happens when you're completely alone, and then you realize you actually aren't? Let's dive right into this. When you're alone, your baseline for what is normal completely shifts. Isolation just inherently creates vulnerability. Think about it. If you're sitting in a crowded room and hear a floorboard creak, your brain completely ignores it, right? But what happens when you're the only person in the house, or the only car on a dark road, and that floorboard creaks? We're going to explore exactly how that isolation amplifies vulnerability by looking at 3 very distinct variations of late-night threats.
Case 1. Targeted stalking. The silent stalker.
Okay, let's take a look at how fast this escalated. It starts with an overnight warehouse worker pulling into their empty driveway at 4:15 in the morning. On night 1, they spot an unfamiliar old black sedan with super dark tinted windows parked way too close. They just brush it off as a neighbor's guest. Pretty normal reaction. But on night 2, the car is back in the exact same spot. Now the worker gets a bit suspicious and wisely snaps a photo of the license plate. But night 3, that's where the baseline completely shatters. The worker comes home, sees the car is back, goes inside, and picks up their phone. Bam, a motion detection alert. And this isn't from the porch camera, it's from one of their indoor cameras. Worse still, they quickly realize the alert is from the exact bedroom they are currently standing in. So, was the house actually empty? Standing frozen in that bedroom, the worker opens the app to review the 60-second clip. For the first 55 seconds, nothing. It's totally silent. No movement. You can almost feel that false sense of security trying to creep back in. But then, in the final 5 seconds of the video, a head and shoulders quickly dart right across the bottom of the frame. Just a fraction of a second. The realization hits them like a truck. The house is absolutely not empty. And at that exact moment, the silence of the house just becomes deafening. The panic here is instant. They know they've got to get out of there immediately. But as they hurry out of the bedroom, they hear it. Movement. Right behind them. Footsteps start rushing down the hallway, closing the gap to maybe just 15 feet. The worker just bolts. They sprint out the front door, feet crunching on the leaves, and just vanish into the pitch-black woods without ever once looking back.
Okay, so why did they survive? 3 crucial things. They caught the anomaly early, they took that license plate photo on night 2, and they had indoor cameras. They called 911 from the woods, handed over the photo, and police arrested a mid-20s man just 3 hours later. But guys, what the police found on his phone was deeply disturbing. We're talking multiple pictures of the house, creepy photos taken through the windows of the victim just sitting in their living room at night, detailed notes tracking their work schedule for 2 full weeks. It is still a terrifying mystery how he bypassed those cameras to get inside, or honestly, if this was even the first time he'd been in the house.
Case 2, the unknown element, the midnight passenger. Now, we're moving from a breached home to a mobile environment. An Uber driver is out chasing surge pricing during a really severe rainstorm. Isolation here is strictly geographical. The driver takes a ride that goes 35 minutes into the absolute middle of nowhere. It's an empty intersection surrounded by nothing but fields and trees. Nobody is on the corner, but suddenly, out of nowhere, a drenched, angry-looking guy just appears in the side mirror from the pitch black behind the car and hops right in. You've really got to notice the massive behavioral mismatch here. On the left, the driver tries some friendly de-escalation, just naturally asking, "Hey, what brings you out here in a storm?" Standard small talk. But the passenger? He completely ignores it. Instead, he positions himself directly in the middle of the back seat, perfectly placed to just stare intensely into the rearview mirror. His eyes are darting around nervously, complete silence, and then, totally unprompted, he repeatedly demands, "Drop me off here," in an area where literally no one lives. The driver wisely complies and pulls over. But what happens next is a literal lifesaver. The guy puts his hand on the door handle to get out, but he hesitates. His eyes lock right onto the glowing Uber app sitting on the center console. In that split second, the passenger pulls out his own phone and realizes his digital footprint, his real first name, his location, all his data is totally exposed to this driver. If he tries anything right now, he is undeniably linked to it. This is where the driver uses some incredibly quick thinking. It's brilliant, honestly. Seeing the guy hesitate, the driver fakes total ignorance of the danger. They casually offer to cancel the ride from their end, telling the guy it won't charge him. This flawlessly tricks the suspicious passenger into thinking his ride data is going to be completely wiped from the system. Satisfied that his tracks are covered, the angry man finally opens the door and disappears into the rain and thick fog. The driver obviously called the cops right away. But the chilling reality didn't actually set in until a few days later. A missing person was reported that exact night. And guess where they were last seen? Near the very forest where this drop-off occurred. Because this severe storm completely washed away any tracks, the police couldn't find any evidence. That Uber driver was the last known person to encounter this man, literally inches away from becoming a victim of whatever dark plan was brewing out there in the storm.
Case 3. The breached sanctuary. Trusting the gut feeling.
It's wild how the human brain constantly tries to rationalize danger to keep us calm, isn't it? Look at this. An exhausted rural homeowner pulls up on a rainy April evening. They spot a muddy three-point turn track in their driveway. Brain says, oh, just a lost mail truck. At 7:30 p.m., there's a quiet single knock at the door. They open it, see nothing but wind and rain. Brain says, just the storm. Later, they find a single spot of mud on the white tile floor directly behind the living room couch. Brain says, probably just off my own boots, and they wipe it up. But despite all these rationalizations, their gut feeling kicks into overdrive. They feel an overwhelming, visceral sense of being watched from the dark space right behind that couch. So that gut feeling drives them to seek safety in an upstairs bedroom. After settling in, they hear a muted thump right outside their bedroom door. They bravely check the hallway. Nothing. Then suddenly, the downstairs TV, the one they absolutely knew they turned off, turns back on and blasts their show at full volume. The terrifying logic of this invader suddenly comes together. The police later figured out the intruder had scouted the house, popped a downstairs window lock, and literally lurked silently in the dark all evening while the homeowner was walking around. When the homeowner went upstairs, the intruder blasted the TV as a deliberate distraction to mask the sounds of their escape.
But how do we actually know for sure the intruder was upstairs with them? Well, after the TV blasts, the homeowner grabs a kitchen knife and bravely clears the dark downstairs. Nobody's there. They walk back upstairs, probably thinking they're just losing their mind, but then they check the rarely used upstairs library space. And right there, by the closet, they find something that absolutely shouldn't be there. It's the TV remote for the downstairs television. The intruder had been hiding in that upstairs spare room, literally mere feet away from the homeowner's bedroom, and had taken the remote upstairs with them. Just terrifying.
So, what is the big takeaway here? Distilling these 3 accounts, a really clear pattern emerges. Survival in isolation heavily depends on catching red flags early. Never ignore environmental anomalies, whether it's a car parked where it shouldn't be or a tiny, single mud spot on a white tile floor. Leverage modern technology. Use security cameras and digital footprints as the powerful deterrents they are. And absolutely, most importantly, never, ever ignore your natural instincts. When your environment feels off, your brain is usually processing subconscious details that your rational mind just hasn't caught up to yet. I want to leave you with this thought to kind of heighten your own situational awareness. The next time you feel completely alone in the dark, will you trust your eyes or will you trust your instincts? Ask yourself right now, what minor anomalies are you actively dismissing in your own daily routine? And exactly what would your plan be if an unfamiliar car parked outside your house for 3 consecutive nights? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, guys. Stay aware out there.